We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! How about it? It's been blocked again! It's going to heat one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyreek Cleveland! How about it? I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw. Thompson fires the ball over the middle. It's Norris! It's Norris! Got a touchdown! Norris got a touchdown! Oh, man! Norris got a touchdown!
Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out the winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium Miguel. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
It's Dan.
And Delatory.
Good to see you again, Delatory. I seen you Friday at the game.
Yes, sir.
Good vibes outside the rain. How you was feeling, man? Same corner, same time.
Feeling a little bit heavier than I did before Thanksgiving. Feeling a little bit defeated. Was confident about going into this game, but that's okay. But otherwise, vibes are good.
No doubt.
Nick, how you feeling?
Feeling good. Just about to publish our story live here on the podcast for Avery Helm. Good vibes. Saturday, Silk. Friday. Jeez. Had to stop myself.
I kept doing it all weekend, saying Saturday. Yeah. Even on Friday, I was saying Saturday.
Had to stop myself from buying some shoes at the tailgate. Price tag was looking good. Sneakerhead, just didn't need to walk into the press box with a box of shoes, though. Didn't need to do that. I was feeling good at halftime as the only member of Gators Online that picked Florida. I was feeling good. Just didn't work out, but good weekend. Had the family in town.
We should have won that game.
Should have won,
but we should have won a lot of games this fall. That we did.
Yeah, well, could go either way. But had a good week with family. Had a good week with
birthday
fiance.
too, right?
Birthday was Friday. At the game, turned 34. It's my Shaq year. My Herschel Walker season.
Dunk on him, baby.
My Herschel Walker season, my Shaq year. Or sorry, not Herschel Walker. Let's go with
Go Jackson, man.
Sweetness.
Oh, you gonna go Walt? You going Walt?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Go with Walter Payton.
I said
Went Walt. I was starting thinking Frazier when you said Walt, Big Walt.
No. Walter Payton is in my top 3 running backs all time, bro.
Yeah, it's my sweetness here. Started it off with the flu, so not sweet. Can only go up from here.
I'm looking up other famous 34s.
Ricky Williams.
Your Ricky Williams year. It could be your Thurman Thomas year.
Because she's big. Might as well.
Might as well. Let's see. You can do your Wayne Embry year.
No, thank you.
Your Hakeem Olajuwon year. Your Charles Barkley or Paul Pierce
There's
year.
a caption in that one about the dream. Olajuwon. There's an IG caption in there somewhere. Dan.
There is. Nick's We'll have to work on something. But Nick, as somebody that is currently finishing up their
shout out to Ben
Isaiah,
Chase,
their Isaiah Ryder year, also in my 34th year.
Dan, you're going really downhill with these names.
Well, I looked up famous 34s, and that was the first one that came up when I looked it up here. So
Dan's like Pee Wee Herman was once photographed in a Shaq jersey. It could be
my Giannis year.
No, thank you.
How about my Giannis year? I like
shout out to I'm checking out our Twitter, our YouTube comments. Ben Chase, somewhere on the interstate, near or far from you. Ben Chase.
Fly today, ain't gonna lie.
Next game will be the official record. Don't be cowards, Guinness. Acknowledge our man.
Acknowledge him. Give him all the credit he deserves. Put him in the record books. I saw that we haven't really caught up with Ben in a while, but since he was last on the show, he stayed at Jim McElwain's house at Central Michigan. He was on the sideline of the Iowa game. I feel like he's now on the sideline or in the president's box. He's no longer just with the Commoners. He's He's a real
Ben is as
he's a real
American
celebrity
as
now.
apple pie at this point, man. He's just like as apple pie football and baseball is to America, so is Ben Chase at this point, bro.
I'm telling you, if three-year
Fan favorite.
Letterman looks up to you, you've got the internet by storm, Ben. So he
Legend,
says
man.
that he's at a Panera Bread just north of Atlanta right now.
Nice.
So follow Ben G Chase. I think it's the same name on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow it. Guys living everybody's dream. So boys, let's get into the show. As always, we do want to give a shout out to our friend Alan Horn with Alan Horn Insurance State Farm. He is based in Jasper, Georgia. But if you're in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, or Alabama, give him a call at 706-692-2888 or visit him at Alan Horn. That's ALANHORNE insurance.com. Any type of insurance that you could possibly want or need, give him a call and he will give you a quote. Remember, quotes are free. And always shop around your insurance. This is a great time of year to do it. It's almost Christmas time. It's also the new year, maybe cutting down on some expenses, things of that nature. Maybe Alan can help you. Give him a call. A quote is free, 706-692-2888. Gentlemen, we had a barn burner in Tallahassee. Gators unfortunately go into halftime.
A classic game.
No, it was a fantastic game.
Sure.
Gators do lose 45-38 in a game that was very exciting to watch. The pendulum swing in both directions throughout the game. Probably one of the most exciting football games offensively that you could have imagined in this game. But Silk Nick, before we dive into the show, what were your thoughts?
Man, a lot of thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way we ran the ball first half. I like the way we played the game first half. Defense, I knew they was going to be able to get points on us, right? And we wasn't going to stop those guys from scoring. But they provided some turnovers and some stops in the second half that I thought gave us opportunity to possibly win the game. I think what lost us the game, and I know there's a lot of things that happen. There's no one particular thing, but I think the approach to the second half is what lost us the game. We went into halftime, and I kept saying this. I'm in Tallahassee in a bar because I didn't go inside the stadium. I'm the loudest guy in there, Dan.
I believe it.
I'm causing a ruckus, man. All you see is all this ugly maroon and gold stuff everywhere, and I'm making it known what time it is, man. A lot of gunshots. Every time AR scored, it was getting ridiculous in there, but I kept saying I just want to be up at half. 51 comes back, and nobody foreseen us being up at half in this game. So going up 3 points, getting the ball back, I felt real good about the way we ended the first half, running down their throat. I thought we should have came back with that same energy. You're on the road, you're down a lot of receivers, you're not the healthiest team, you're playing with house money. Yo, let's go in and do what's been working for us all season, and that's the run game. Florida State had no answer for the run game. We came out and went pass happy. It threw off our momentum. That crowd got back into the game. They got some momentum back, and we were just, we got back. We got down 14 and got back, tied it back up. But I thought we had an opportunity to go up double scores and just to keep running the ball and do what we wanted to do a little bit. And we just got to look cute. That's overall synopsis of the game. We made way too many penalties. You just can't make that many penalties on the road and survive in a rivalry game.
Yeah, no, getting the ball back right after the start of the second half, being up 24-21, you almost think, not that it would have been a kill shot, but being able to be up 10, but going out, and I think Anthony Richardson started off 5 of 6, then some fault of his, some fault of receivers, and some fault of the defense. I think the next 9 passes go incomplete. Florida absolutely moves away from the run to start the second half. I don't think that they had a single designed run in the first 2 drives. They go 3 and out in both. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. It was working. They were consistent. The Gators averaged, let me just see where it is here. Sorry. 5.84 yards per carry, 263 yards on the ground. But for some reason, they moved away from the run to start the second half. You were able to gash them. I'm not sure if they thought that they could get the ball moving through the air and keep FSU on their toes, maybe take somebody out of the box, whatever it might have been. But you go into that game, as a big underdog, depending on where you look, the Gators were anywhere from 8.5 to 10-point underdogs going into that game. Didn't have a lot to lose. You do fight back. And, I think that all of us will give credit to the Gators this season for fighting back when they found themselves in holes, but it's just a little too late in this game. But I think that second half, the start of the second half is really just going to wear on the minds of Gator fans of what could have been this year.
Yeah, there's a theme in third quarters, and Florida just hasn't been good coming out of the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote about it. That's probably troubling to me. As a coach, you get 15 minutes, 20 minutes. If it's a CBS game, you get 4.5 hours at halftime to talk with your team, make adjustments from what just happened. And I'm pulling the numbers up right now, but Florida was just terrible in the third quarter this year. Obviously worse in games that they lost, but outscored. What is it?
Well,
90?
Nick, while you're pulling that up, sorry to interrupt. The Gators, lose the middle eight again. I think that they tied 3-3 in terms of
tied the middle
point.
Eight versus FSU.
Yeah, but when you look at production during that time, the Gators they lost 2.92 expected points in that game, or in the game during that middle eight period, and FSU gained 2.23 expected points. Now, that's advanced analytics. You can fight those numbers, but I think the one thing that we found this entire season is the middle eight, and really that third quarter, Florida has really struggled with adjustments or trying to overcorrect or over-adjust, or think that a team is going to adjust to them and try to get cute or get too smart and outthink yourself. But that's something that this staff has really got to figure out going into next year, because there's a lot of games that were lost in that middle eight in that third quarter of the game.
Yeah, they were. Florida was atrocious in the middle eight. A lot of that, I think. Billy, we've asked him about it, and people didn't like his response. I get some of it, and it's like a lot of times they, had 2 minutes to go, and they're on their 20, and they're looking for a big play on first down, something to give them a chunk play, 15, 20 yards, get them closer, and where in his mind he's got striking distance. Now, is he more cautious because of his roster, and will he be more comfortable to be more aggressive 2 years down the line when he's got three recruiting classes and his own guys? Because there was a point this season where Billy Napier straight up said, like, it's not about the play calls. Sometimes you just have to execute, which I think is as close to him saying we just don't have the horses to compete in this race. And right now you can make that excuse as a coach because you didn't recruit these horses. In a couple of years, it's your stable. And saying that we don't have the horses comes down to the guy that owns the stable. So middle eight was bad all year long. Gators were outscored 90-68 in the third quarter. In losses, in the 6 losses, they were outscored 76-30. So it's sort of an indictment on the coaching staff to me. What did you do in the locker room to make adjustments, talk to your team, get them ready? And that the immediate answer to that is, well, what did your team do in the third quarter? And Florida got blown out in the third quarter.
Right.
Yeah, even with the you were saying that I don't know, Billy seems aggressive. He's just not aggressive when it comes down to the final 2 minutes heading into the halftime. But he's shown a tendency to go for it on fourth down on our own 25 or some shit when it just makes no sense.
I know.
And
when you should be punting and featuring the best player on the team.
Yeah. And also, like, on 4th and 1s, he's throwing, or 4th and 3s, he's throwing like bombs. So like he's showing the aggressiveness, but the final 2 minutes, man, I don't know if it's down to aggression or just play calling. Like, and that's like, I just, I'm a Billy guy. I'm rocking with the growth and what he's trying to build. Yep. I understand what he's doing, but nothing's perfect, and we're allowed to question things, even if we're supporting it and we believe in it. You can still, question, because all this is a growing process. But I don't get the 2 minute offense at all. I haven't seen one good 2 minute offensive drive to end the half. I've seen us go on Utah and go down and march and go ahead, score, But I just haven't seen that not one time leading to halftime.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely frustrating to watch. Trying to see here if I have any notes, because this is really one of the first times that I was able to sit down, watch the game, close Twitter for the most part, and just kind of sat down in my journal here to write some stuff down. And
Dear diary,
yeah,
today
no,
we're playing Florida State.
yeah, sometimes it felt that way. And we'll go through a couple things here. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we've all noticed. It's that middle eight. It's that third quarter. It's the adjustments, and sometimes it's the overcorrection and over adjustments. In my opinion, I mean, if you look at this game, Florida was running the ball really, really well. They were passing the ball, pretty well to start the game. Moved completely away from the pass portion of it. From the pass portion back to running, and then completely away from running into passing. And then when they brought running back, it seemed to work again. And it kind of reminds me of that year, when Florida had Treon Harris and they played Georgia and they just pounded the rock and ran the ball, the same 3 plays, right? And it worked. And I don't think that, based on, this game, Trevor Etienne was averaging 7.59 yards per carry, Montreal Johnson 5, Anthony Richardson 4.67. You do that, consistently, you're going to get a first down every, 2 or 3 plays, right? So I don't know why they moved away from that. I still think Anthony Richardson, had the ability to throw receivers open. I still think that there was an opportunity, but, I think that they just tried to force throwing the ball in the beginning of the third quarter. And then, then we just couldn't stop them. You score 38 points in a game, and you expect to win. And, it's the second time or third time this year we said, hey, that's a lot of points to score, and you still end up on the losing side.
Yeah, missed tackles were an issue again.
Yep.
Oh my God,
two biggest games I think this year.
That cost us the game too, man. There was so many times you sack Trav to not just end the drive, but he would go on to score on those same missed sacks sometimes.
And some credits where it's due. Like he's done that to a lot of defenses. But to your point, I think they called the touchdown back. It was one where he slid. First off, what are you doing sliding into the end zone? They called it back at the one. They scored the next play, but there were 4 guys that missed a sack opportunity. And
I wrote down 52, 54, and 33. Now these could be wrong. Again, it was in real time. All missed tackles. I think that there was another one that missed a tackle on that first escape that he had. At some point you just have to put your body through him, right? I mean, you try to get finicky, you try to make up the perfect tackle. And I know that there's, a threat of, hitting a quarterback any, harder than a tap on get you a penalty, but at some point you just have to throw your body at him. And they were just doing a terrible job of anything in tackling throughout the entire game. I thought that Derek Wingo had a rough game. I thought Amari Burney played pretty well. Let's see, just going through some of the notes. I mean, when Ventrell came in, he had that one pass that he was able to deflect, but I thought that he was, pretty isolated in terms of what he did in the game. But you had to start the second half. 9 straight incomplete passes.
That's insane. I do want to applaud
Anthony had 11 at one point too.
Yeah.
In the game.
Yeah. I do want to say the beginning of the play, the approach to the first half and the way we struck iron, beautiful throws by AR. They was loading the box. They was going to make AR arm beat us. They was going to try to stop the run game with all their capabilities. They was going to load the box and make AR do what he had to do. And AR was delivering in that first half. Ricky Pearsall was putting on a clinic as far as running routes and being wide ass open. So I do like the start of the game. I think we went off the tracks second half, and I don't know if that was a predetermined game plan to start the second half, but there should have been some adjustment of, hey man, we ended this half, they couldn't stop us. We just land on these people. Our offensive line was way bigger than their defensive line. We were doing exactly what we wanted to do. And the only thing that could have hurt us was turnovers and not running the ball. 2 things that hurt us all year: turnovers and not running the ball.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Going back the last 3 years for missed tackles. Again, in 2020, only 11 games, 151 missed tackles. Last season, 132, and then this year, through 12 games, 124. but like real Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You'd have games where there were like 4 missed tackles, 5 missed tackles, and then LSU 21, FSU 18. You've got like these games where it was just, and if you look at those two quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis, there's
and that's a
similarity there.
That's Football Focus.
That's Pro Football Focus.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's a very particular definition of what a missed tackle is too. I mean, there's far more than that in the game. I do, a couple of big things cost them, right? Again, don't know how much 10 yards matters, but it matters. The Gators tie it up 38-38, and then they kick the ball out of bounds, right? You give them at least 10 more yards.
You can't do that.
Well, and what's crazy to me is that every kick before that was perfect and into the end zone or short return, and then you go and you kick the ball out of bounds. I'll give credit to Johnny Wilson. He played well, had a couple great catches. At some point in time, it seemed that Jason Marshall and Trey Dean were both in Johnny Wilson hell, but simple mistakes like that, are going to come back and bite you to a team that is as explosive as FSU is. And I'll be sure that none of you probably listened to the broadcast, but Brock Osweiler made sure that you knew every single time that Florida State touched the ball that they were the most explosive offense in the country. So.
What do you guys think about the 4th down call with the pitch?
I mean, I don't like it because it didn't work out. If it works out, right, it looks really good, right? So
I mean, we gotta get cute. That's my take on it.
Right.
Like, I think we was able to run downhill on these people the entire game. I didn't think there was a reason for us to get cute. And if you do want to get cute, you put your running back in, in some read option types. I mean, your quarterback in some read option type stuff, or maybe some RPO. But to get cute, I mean, you put yourself, if the defensive end is disciplined, or if a couple of players are disciplined on that play, it's just a wash, and that's what happened. And I didn't think we had to get cute. I think we could have just ran straight at them to pick up what we need. I think it was like a yard or two.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that I don't understand, and maybe Silk, you played more football than me. You can help me understand. I don't understand why Florida just can't line up under center on these 4th and 1s and just power it through. I don't understand every time they're in the goal line, 2 yards or closer to the goal line, or you're on 4th and 1, why everything's out of the shotgun. And I know you can, if you're a running back, you can get a little bit of a running start, maybe see a hole, but I just don't understand, if you have a 240-pound quarterback.
A lot. Yeah, they just don't practice a lot. I used to ask that when I was young, when we had Tebow and we get to the goal line and snap it 4 yards back to run it 4. I never got that. Just had this big dude just get it from the center and fall forward. But they don't practice a whole lot, I don't think, in practice. Am I right, Nick? I don't think under the center is a thing we do a lot. So to do it in the game, I think would be just a little opportunistic for a turnover, in my opinion.
Yeah, they really don't practice it at all. It could be something though that it might be something you need to do. You need to practice. You practice so many situations. Like you'll have an entire hour of practice dedicated to just goal line, just red zone. You might need to start dedicating some stuff just because, so you can't have that excuse. So like, it's not an excuse. That's the reality, but they don't practice it. So if you don't practice,
but if you watch this football, like how many shotgun teams that are going under center to do that these days? I mean, look around the country. Not a lot of teams on 4th and 1 are going under center. A lot of people are doing the same goofy stuff that we're doing. Today's football.
I know it's happening in the NFL too, right? I mean, I saw the Dolphins do it with Tua yesterday as well. It's just more of a curiosity thing. And I know it's a comfort thing and everything else. And I'm certainly not smarter than the coaches. It's something to me that when you need to get 6 yards and you have a 240-pound, quarterback and you're right there, why not? But,
6 inches or 6 yards.
Yeah, just frustrating to say the least. Let's see, bad interception on the 4th drive on offense that they had, or that we had in the game. Richard Garage, I thought, struggled quite a bit in this game, and I think he's struggled quite a bit, this season, or at least towards the end of the season. I don't know what really happened to him, but that was certainly something that I noted as well. A couple false starts against Texas A&M, couple penalties against Vanderbilt, big penalty against Florida State. And I'm not going to say he got abused or got beat, but definitely didn't look as sharp as he did earlier. I know Kingsley got beat on a few plays too, and that's going to happen. But again,
yeah, man, coming into this year, I had question marks. I was excited about the offensive line. I think Kingsley did not meet my expectations. Probably didn't meet his expectations with his play this year. I thought specifically he struggled on the road with some snapping issues, some run blocking. I think it'll be interesting to see how this line shakes out. Like Osiris Torrance is going to be gone. He's going to be a top 40, 50 pick, if not an outright first rounder. Richard Garage, I don't know if he'll go to the NFL, but I do not think he will be back at Florida. I think even if he doesn't go the NFL route, he'll transfer. And you look at the offensive line, I think there's still optimism. You get Tarquin back, you get a guy Richie Leonard, who Florida's really, really high on. You get him back. Ethan White can be back. I think Kingsley has to come back. And then Austin Barber, my guy, was ready to fight every single person in Garnet and Gold on Friday night.
He did get punched in the face by 91.
Not just on the field, he was ready to fight. He was ready to fight anyone in the stands. And so that's the kind of mentality and the kind of anger we need from offensive linemen. If you're trying to fight fans, that's what we need. That's Silk's kind of offensive lineman right there.
Thank God he didn't fight the fan. There was a lot of that going on, and so much poverty going on in the city of Tallahassee to rush your field after a game like that. It's a little embarrassing for the rivalry. You shouldn't be rushing the field for games like that.
Maybe once John Ruiz is done fixing the homeless problem in Gainesville, he can focus on the poverty in Tallahassee.
I can see it. It'd be a good initiative. But yeah, I like Barber. I'm with you. Your Garage struggled a little bit. Who we lose off the offensive line? Just Torrance.
Right? Osiris Torrance. Nick said that you're gonna probably lose Richard Garage as well. So you're probably replacing at least two of your 5 starters. But Austin Barber obviously playing time this year. You get Tarquin back, so they are returning some people with snaps under their belt at least.
For sure. Excited to see what Cam Waits look like once he is going as well. I think they evaluate offensive line pretty good with these guys.
The staff is really high on Jalen Farmer as well, who is just a monster of a human being.
I like to hear that. And we can get through this game pretty quickly. Statistically, the Gators do well, and you look at advanced analytics. 10% of their plays were explosive, which means a run of 15 plus yards and a pass of 20. More successful in the red zone for the most part. Struggled with obviously stopping FSU's run. Struggled creating havoc. Run 85 total plays. Obviously a lot more success rushing the ball than passing. Started off the game really strong passing. Richardson ends for 9 for 27 for 198 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1 sack in the game. But again, give credit where credit's due. Started off the game really well, throwing the ball. Ricky Pearsall looked fantastic. It is important to say that the Gators were missing, I believe, 4 of their wide receivers for their higher on the depth chart wide receivers in this game. Jonathan Odom catches a touchdown. Ricky Pearsall gets 2. Caleb Douglas, unfortunate drop there on the last drive. Got to bring that one in, but things happen. I can't put it all on him. But the Gators on 9 catches, 5 of them went to Pearsall, 3 went to Odom, and then 1 went to Zanders.
Man, what could have been with some better attrition as well. We had our entire receiving corps out with Jaquavion Fraziers and Justin Shorter, Xavier Henderson, 3 starters, and you're going with a bunch of young boys. While they did play a good game, shout out to Ricky Pearsall for being solid, but you guys they played okay. For and AR made do with what he has for his receivers, but. Just shout out to them boys having some resolve. The entire team, they didn't come in lacking any confidence. They thought they should win their game. They played very good. This is a veteran team. Like Florida State, if anything, they should. I know they're happy, but for a team to be as at their peak right now, as far as Mike Norvell's career since he's been there, and as good as they thought this team was, they were in a dogfight and probably should have lost that game to a depleted receiver corps at home, and Mike Norvell's third year. So shout out to Billy. I think they were shocked by the offense that he put on the field as well. We got a lot to say about Billy's offense, but when you look at the numbers, it's very productive. And it's still a lot to be desired from the quarterback position when it pertains to decision making. So we'll see what's next. We'll see if AR goes pro. We'll see if he plays the bowl game, and if not, who plays quarterback in the bowl game, what the offense looks like with that quarterback. There's a lot to be seen. Season's not over yet.
Yeah, no, Jalen Kitna did come in. Anthony Richardson's helmet came off. I thought that he looked poised. He looked like a good quarterback out there, has the stature, has the flow, looks like a hockey player out there, but I thought that he did well, poised, and not breaking any news here, but I think you should expect to see Jalen Kitna's jersey out there quite a bit in whatever bowl game the Gators do play. Right now, CBS is projecting Florida and UCLA in the Las Vegas Bowl.
I don't like that.
On December 17th. Watch that UCLA USC game. Don't like that at all. So maybe they have a bunch of people that are worried about going to the NFL team.
Let me plant a little bug here. I don't know who Florida will have left on the roster after the transfer portal and some NFL decisions. I think, AR will probably declare. And I think he wants to play in the bowl game. And I think his representation will be like, are you out of your mind? The bowl game? What bowl game? Who cares about the bowl game? We're going to start getting ready for the NFL. So that'll be interesting to see. Plant a little bug. Let me go with Gator Bowl, Notre Dame, Florida. Just throwing that out there.
Gator Bowl is in the beautiful, bustling, hip city of Jacksonville, Florida. When would that game be played, Nick? That's around New Year's.
I think it's December 23rd.
Totally wrong. Needless to say, I probably won't be able to make it. I think I have plans that day.
I don't like that one either.
Well, so here's how it works. The CFP takes the 4 teams, and then the SEC sends a team to the Sugar Bowl. After that, there's like tiers, and they can pick and choose, but really it's the TV company, which essentially is ESPN, which is Disney, picking games based on what do you think we can sell, because they don't care about the bowl games. They want you to think they care about the bowl games. They care about the commercials, which bring them money from having 60-plus bowl games. Florida and Notre Dame sells very well to companies, to well-known teams. I'm trying to find out what day this game is. That sells way more than, it's actually December 30th, Dan, a Friday. That beautiful TIAA Bank.
The Gators and Notre Dame have played just one time, and that was in 1992. Notre Dame won 39-28. I do know that the Gators are planning a home with Notre Dame at some point in the next decade. I think it's in 2030.
I'm making that.
I could certainly be wrong. I've never been to a quieter stadium in my life than when I went to
the house that Rudy built.
The house that Rudy built. I thought you said that Booty built, but
yeah,
I think
Booty has built some houses. Yeah. Booty has built a lot of houses.
Jared Johnson wants it to be the Birmingham Bowl.
No,
I don't think anybody else besides you, Jared, wants the Birmingham Bowl.
Right there.
No,
the only people that want the Birmingham Bowl, like Jared, live in Birmingham.
Yeah. 904, we did get your super chat. We'll do that here in a second. Let's wrap up the Florida game. Any final thoughts on the game? Anybody that you want to give special credit or a shout out to?
Final thoughts, man. Refereeing is down as a culture. I think like we gotta like defund what is refereeing right now and start back from scratch. It's garbage. It's just terrible refereeing the entire season, not just Friday night. I'm just as a whole. I think refereeing is down. Shout out to Etienne. He's gonna be special in the future, man. Just the feet that young man has are special, I think him and Montreal next year are going to be, regardless of the quarterback. The run game does change with AR gone. I do want people like with Kitna, and we'll see that in the bowl game if Kitna's the guy. With a linebacker not focused on AR possibly taking off with the ball as much, they're going to squeeze down a little bit differently on our run game. It's going to look a little different. But in the meantime, shout out to ETN, shout out to Montreal. The offensive line gets to my MVP of the year as far as a team unit. Torrance is probably the most valuable player on the team this year. But as a group, I'm going to give it to the offensive line. I think they've been steady this year and the anchor of this team. Defensively, there's a lot to be desired personnel-wise. I know we got a lot of personnel issues, but I got to see Tony get his own guys. We're not waiting forever for this. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the portal for us to get some guys that could play. We're going to lose some in the portal. Let's bring some in the portal. But defense, I didn't learn a lot this year.
No, I think Nick, sorry, I want to hear your thoughts too. I think, Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think Osiris Torrance goes his entire career, or at least since his freshman year, without allowing a sack. I know his statistics are in the 3,000s, I believe, for number of snaps without a sack. So he came in as the most heralded offensive line prospect recruit out of the transfer portal, and I think that he absolutely lived up to that. I thought that he did a great job. I thought the offensive line as a whole did really well, and I'm not sure if that has a lot to do with their maturity and their age and their experience that they had before, how much goes into Darnell Stapleton and Rob Sale. But I think that, convincingly you saw probably the best Florida Gators offensive line that you've seen in
a real long time,
12 years, maybe,
sure.
Maybe since the end of those,
Since
Mike
you had both Pouncey's on it.
Right. Yeah.
Both Pouncey's.
Nick, I want to hear your thoughts, and then I'll run through my MVPs, and then we'll move on to some other stuff.
I think if you beat Vanderbilt, even losing to FSU, as much as losing to FSU sucks and can taint the season, I think if you don't lose to Vanderbilt, there's a significantly different feeling as a Gator fan right now. Losing to Vanderbilt.
No, I still feel sick. To be honest with you.
if you equate the season to like a hike, like there were some stumbles. It was a tough trail. You had a good hike, and then losing to Vanderbilt is like finishing your hike, getting back to the car, and getting sprayed by a skunk. Like as you're getting into the car.
That's very specific.
Now you're just like driving home, and shit stinks. That's what losing to Vanderbilt did to this season. I think if you beat Vanderbilt, you're 7-5. You feel okay. You get an eighth win in the bowl game. You get a top 10 recruiting class, and you see the vision. And I think the loss to Vanderbilt just distorts the vision because it's egregious. It should never happen. Hadn't happened in my entire lifetime. So I think
Hugh Freeze to Auburn from football school.
Bro, they fired a better version of Hugh Freeze 2 years ago, who now coaches the UCF Knights. So that's a wild time,
right?
To be Auburn.
I love it for them.
Yeah,
it's a good get for them. Wisconsin got a good get too.
I was joking. I was being sarcastic about Hugh, but I do like Luke to Wisconsin. I think that's a good fit. I think they're going to be a little threat out there. To challenge Michigan and Ohio State and get in the mix a little bit.
To Dan's point about Osiris, he would be my offensive MVP. He played 1,501 pass blocking snaps with no sacks allowed. He played 3,065 total snaps and was only penalized in his career 12 times. This season, no sacks, no penalties.
I mean, that's just incredible. I mean, that just doesn't happen even amongst the best, right? It's easy to get an arm, wrapped around, a neck or something gets missed, or, you just missed the snap count by a millisecond, a quarter of a second. But now shout out to him. Nick, do you have a defensive MVP?
Yeah, I think my defensive MVP is going to be Ventrell Miller. Obviously, the stats are good. I was surprised, as Silk already mentioned, don't need to be a dead horse, that Florida's defense didn't get better, or at least get an emotional advantage, an emotional charge from getting Miller back. But to me, just what he meant to the team on the field and off the field for the entire season, 51 and 54 would be my MVPs on either side of the ball.
I like that. Yeah, shout out to Osiris Torrance, Montrell Johnson. I think a lot of us were excited about him, just because of his freshman year, but you just don't know if that's going to translate to the SEC or not. He did really well. Obviously, ETN, a guy that wasn't recruited, by Florida, I don't believe, until Billy Napier comes. I can't imagine, where they would have been without, those two. They're significant.
Man, that running,
my opinion.
yeah, it'd been messy without those two
Yeah.
running backs.
Ugly. Yeah. I thought Justin Shorter had a good year. Ricky Pearsall, Anthony Richardson, it's always going to be a what if, right? Anthony Richardson is likely going to end his Florida career with 13 total games, as a starting quarterback. A lot of Jekyll, a lot of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde out of him. Some things were great, some things weren't. Silk, I know that you and I have chatted, quite a bit about how we think Anthony Richardson, if he goes to the right situation, will likely be a better NFL quarterback than he is a college quarterback. I think that he's got a lot to work on just from the mental, side of the game. And I say this completely as a bystander, and I certainly wish him, if he does declare, if and when, that he is successful in the NFL, he's going to measure off the charts. Nick talked about it a couple of weeks ago. He's going to line up with, 4 or 5 wide receivers that know him very well. He's going to look very pretty. He's going to throw the ball beautifully. And, I hope that he goes to a situation where he can learn and develop and not be expected to be the first round starter, wherever he goes in year one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think AR needs to get drafted by a team that gives him the Aaron Rodgers treatment. He's sitting behind a veteran for a couple of years. I think he has to work on not just mental. There's some physical parts of his game that he got to work on as well. The NFL is starting to see this thing a little different as far as, like, I think quarterbacks. They're getting like the NBA in drafting potential. You look at the guys, the Mahomes, and the guys that came in the NFL very raw. The NFL didn't see them as talented back then when they were coming in, like not as a top 10 pick, but how they developed, and that upside was worth that gamble. And I think that's what they're seeing in AR. In a down quarterback class, there's no quarterback I'm looking at right now that I'm just in love with. But if there's somebody that I can look at physical attributes and I'm gonna gamble on, I think he has the best physical attributes that enter the draft. As far as he's gonna go run a 4.40, he's gonna jump 40-inch vertical. He can make all the hard throws, right? I think he struggles with the easy throws, the throws that should be routine. And I think that's just gonna come with reps and repetition. Just fix that type of stuff, in my opinion. It don't completely fix accuracy, but some of those throws he just needs more reps at, like swing passes and some of the slant stuff.
And a couple of checkdowns.
They just see the potential, and I see it as well. Regardless of how he struggled at UF, this kid hasn't been playing quarterback that long. Shout out to Denny Thompson. I think he's a reputable quarterback coach, but this kid hasn't had the best of hands put on him as far as quarterback development. And these guys think they're smarter than, I'm sure, Billy. If I'm an NFL guy and I'm working in the NFL, I'm gonna think I'm smarter than Billy, and I'd rather have this kid right now than next year. I don't think another year here is gonna help him in that aspect. I don't think the NFL is gonna look at him any different. I don't think he's gonna grow in Billy's offense anymore. I think it's just time. Once somebody's telling you you're top 15, top 20 pick first round, it's time to go. And I don't think any team's gonna draft him and throw him in the fire. That'd be a mistake.
I agree.
And there's something way different, because I've been probably 2 months now. I've been telling people, like, hey, he's going to the draft, and people be like, he's not ready.
Saying it. Yeah.
Right. But a lot of fans, I get a lot of pushback from that of he's not ready. You're crazy. There's no way any team likes him. And it's like, listen, dude, the NFL, they are not Florida fans. They don't care if Florida goes 6-6, 4-8. They're looking at a talent and projecting what he can do for them. Anthony Richardson, if you look at him and project what you think he can be, that's a top 20 pick. And if you're drafting at 20 and he's still there and you need a quarterback, you're counting your lucky stars, because now you're not even paying him top 10 money. But if you're an Anthony Richardson and you're getting that projection, which he is, and which he will when he puts in his papers,
facts of life.
That's what he's going to get. So it's like, to me
The people that think they're smarter than like NFL scouts and GMs are the hilarious ones to me, bro. Like we all know that the kid's not perfect, and he probably could use another year.
Yeah,
but like the year don't make sense, man.
If he comes back and has a great year, could he be a top 3 pick? Absolutely. Could he blow his knee out and then be playing at Florida in 2025? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your risk reward there? Can I come back and maybe push to a top 3 pick, or maybe blow my knee out? I'm a guy at 6'4", 240. Nobody's trying to tackle me straight up. They're diving at my ankles. They're diving at my knees. You've had an ankle injury that you've been,
you've had hamstring interview. You've had hamstring injuries for 5 years, right? I mean, go get the bag, right? I mean, he's not perfect. And I think that, history is going to look very interestingly on Anthony Richardson. And that's just the way that prognostication works of what could have been, what happened, what didn't happen. Certainly wish the young man, best of luck in whatever he decides to do. If he decides to come back to Florida and, hey, baby, let's ride. But if he doesn't, go get that bag. There's a lot of secured and guaranteed money in being a first-round draft pick. That's generational money. So,
yeah. Also, I think sometimes it'd be time for certain players and like certain situations to just move on. He's from Gainesville, University of Florida. Our fans, we're hard on quarterbacks as it is. Some of the people, it's like a love-hate relationship. They want him to come back, right? But they say he stink at the same time, right? Why would anybody?
He sucks, but if he comes back,
like,
I'm not done complaining about him yet. I need one more year.
Let me complain about this guy one more year.
Yeah, you got a lot of tweets in the hopper.
Yeah. So it's just time. We'll see what happens. He still got a decision to make. He has some quotes he said after the game as far as I think you asked him, Nick, or who asked him the question? And he said he got it. Edgar asked him.
Oh, very good.
And he said he got some things he got to figure out as far as like accuracy and why he went,
9-27.
9-27. So
that's an egregious number. But no, certainly wish him the best.
Some accountability. I like it.
Yep. Give it to Ventrell Miller. I thought that he played his ass off this year. Hopefully he's able to get a good draft spot in the NFL. Will probably be older than most of the guys on the defense wherever he gets drafted. So certainly wish him the best of luck. I thought that Princely came in and did well with Brenton Cox's absence. And then I'm excited for Antwall Ryland Powell to really step up next year too. I thought
likewise.
In opportunities that he had.
Powell
Ryland, sorry. Powell Ryland. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Antoine Powell Ryland Jr. I thought that he played well when he came in. Still want to see some growth and development out of the defense, especially in the secondary. I think that there's, we're going to talk about Avery Helm here in a bit. We're going to talk about probably some of the other guys that are going to the transfer portal. I think the Gators are going to absolutely need to hit the portal for some immediate help. They've got a lot of great guys that are in the recruiting class that I think will help and develop, but they're going to need some help right away at safety, nickel, and cornerback, because right now it's a little spooky back there.
Yeah.
Well, let's get in.
You say spooky in the secondary?
Yeah. I think there's talent. I just think that I don't know if it's next year talent.
I don't know how much you play. It's just we'll move on, but I don't know how much you play in the defensive back room as far as the portal. And we got to figure it out. I think it was a tweet from Steve Wiltfong kind of saying the same thing. Finding that balance of, do you wait the signing day because guys gonna jump in the portal on the 5th? So do you wait the signing day to try to get an elite guy, or do you try to grab somebody out of that portal that can that's available right now, and you're not risking getting burnt on signing day? So there's a little situation there, but I don't know how much you play with your DB recruiting class. I think a lot of these kids going to come in and be ready to play fairly early at secondary. I like Kyrie Jackson a lot.
Jakeem Jackson.
Jakeem Jackson. I like him a lot. I think he's going to come in ready to play fairly early. I had those same thoughts about Cremoni, but he went elsewhere. But there's some guys, man, that I think at corner spot that will be able to, and will be healthier with Kimber, Devin Moore. They were missing quite a bit with injuries, so we'll be a little healthier. And I think that the freshman infusion should be enough at corner for us to be all right. I'll see if we play in the portal there a little bit, but I think we may be all right at corner.
Yeah, I think safety's a concern. I don't know. I think Florida's got a lot of hard decisions. I think there's going to be a lot of players leaving. I think some players that I don't know how many big impact players, and we can talk a little bit more about this right after an ad read. I don't know how many huge impact players are going to be potentially out, but I do think that Florida has some question marks at safety. You know, I thought Kamari Wilson, when he came in, did all right. You know, struggled a little bit against FSU when he did play in that game. I thought that Trey Dean had, you know, a decent game at times, but 16, 22, and 0 gave me nightmares all season. So I don't know, you know, what's next for the Gators in terms of development, in terms of the talent that they have on the roster, and obviously bringing in young guys that could be super talented. I do think, Silk, to your point, I think that there's going to be a lot of unfortunate circumstances where players are going to sign and then, you know, guys are going to be brought into the portal after they sign. And I think that it's going to be a really unfortunate circumstance for those kids. I understand that it's life and I understand it's a team and everything else. But this transfer portal year is going to be absolutely bonkers, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of spring entrants into the transfer portal that are freshmen that are early enrollees. But let's get a little bit into that. As always, we want to thank our friends over at Home Field Apparel for sponsoring our show. Go check out Home Field Apparel. Use promo code Stadium and Gale, or I don't know if it's still running, but check out Black Friday as a promo code as well. You're either going to get 15 or 20% off of your order. Great gifts in this giving season. Again, homefieldapparel.com, promo code Stadium and Gale. Nick, you mentioned it when we started the show. But actually, let's get to 904 Whelan's question. Let's talk a little bit recruiting. Super chat, thanks so much. What percentage of this class is early entrants or early enrollees, Nick?
I was always told don't do math live on camera, so I won't do the math. But I've got
apps for that, bro. Pull out your calculator.
I've got 16 guys here that are enrolling early. I can run through the list real quick. Quarterback Jaden Rashada, defensive lineman Kelby Collins, offensive lineman Roger Kearney, Aiden Mizell, Jakeem Jackson, TJ Searcy, Cameron James, Bryce Lovett, Treon Webb, Bryce Thornton, Najee Harris, Sharif Denson, Jordan Castell, Jaden Robinson, Aaron Gates, who's already graduated. I think might want to watch Michigan there. He's been up there a bunch, but still committed to Florida and early enrolling. And then Will Norman, also an early enrollee. The only 4 right now that are not are Andy Jean, Dijon Johnson, Gavin Hill, and Isaiah Nixon. Also, Eugene Wilson, our Corey Bender, like Gator Online, Corey Bender just posted that Eugene Wilson is not going to be signing in December. So he's someone to watch, and Tyree Patterson not signing in December as well.
UG Wilson was just told about
there's another
what? Maybe I mixed it up. Maybe it's
no, you had it right. Eugene Wilson, according to Corey Bender and his coach, was told that he was not going to be signing in December and signing in February. One of the other sites just reported after communicating with Eugene Wilson that he will sign in December. So
recruiting, it's fun.
Kid doesn't have any drama. Could definitely be a communication issue on one side or the other. Certainly not going to hold that against Corey if that is not the case. Do want to give Corey a shout out. I see what he has to deal with every day, along with you too, Nick, on the message boards. But as the head honcho over there, don't envy his job. So
16 guys by our count right now, which maybe this is just like PTSD for me. Like if the signing class, like if signing day in February, which we can even have a debate if that should even be called signing day, and if early signing day should be called early signing day or just signing day, and then there's a second later day that you can also sign on. If that day doesn't go perfectly, you're gonna have more than half of your signing class already working out with Mark Hockey, going through spring practice, in classes. This is huge, and I know that early enrolling has become more normal, but to have 16 early enrollees is absolutely massive.
I'm here for it.
It's bump class.
Yeah, and I think that the way a lot of colleges do it, and or high schools, do it, especially with the online schools and everything else, that they allow them to take additional credits. I think that if a player is okay with leaving high school early, that, I mean, it just gives them such a head start. Spring is a little bit easier of a transition time than it certainly is during the summer and the fall, being able to get acclimated to campus and everything else. Now, I do know that you are giving up, usually prom and some of the other things that you would have, but if you can, certainly, and your school allows it, certainly seems advantageous to do that. So right now the Gators look to add 16 or 17, which is 80%. Or 85% of their class that is in place now. I know the Gators are looking to get Cedric Baxter on campus here in December, the running back that's committed to Texas. I know that, our Corey Bender put in a crystal ball for Mark Fletcher at a 65% confidence for him to come to the Gators. So that seems positive that the Gators will likely end up with 2 running backs in this class. But any final thoughts in recruiting? I know we're getting to that time where, we're going to start to see some more visits after the Thanksgiving holiday now, but any final thoughts on recruiting for what we know now?
This is where it's at. This is part of the vision, right? I don't know what the exact boards are or how they close, but I think there's a necessity right now to close strong. I think everybody's watching the talent acquisition part of all of this because that's been the crutch that was given this year was personnel. And we got to beat some big dogs out coming down the stretch and not just, could be in the top 2 and almost get these guys. I think the fans want to see something different. The product on the field, there's a lot of questions. So I think if Billy's able to close and beat Bama out, beat Miami out for some of these studs that we got, Samson, the Pancake Kid, I don't even want to try to say his last name. Yeah, shout out to that boy. They got to figure something out, how to close. I don't know if it pertains to NIL or what it is. You just got close. So I don't want to get into like the exact names, but there's some 5-star. We gotta get some top 50 kids, man, to make those difference makers to make an impact day one. Rousseau is one of those guys. I know that they're coming down to Bama, but you invested a lot of time into these guys. So, and that's a position of need. So we'll see what they do, but they got some positions they need to close on.
And we talked about this a little bit before, so I don't need to like harp on it, but top 7's nice, but like you don't have that top 50 kid. Is Rashad a top 50?
No. Well, it depends. You guys have him ranked like 1,000, so that brings down his average. I think on Rivals and 247.
Eugene Wilson, very close to top 50.
Yeah,
he ain't a 5-star. I don't know who he is, bro.
We are way higher on Eugene than everyone else. Just put that out there.
Wow.
All y'all high.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut, Nick.
Y'all just higher.
Yeah. Elevated.
For sure.
Man. Yeah, no, Florida's got to win some of these recruiting battles. Sit right now in 7th. Or is it 8th? I'd have to double check. 7th right now. That's what I thought. We talked about it last episode. A lot of players moved up in the rankings. Florida has a lot of great talent coming in, but you need to win, against your Alabamas, your Georgias, your schools that are, consistently at the top. And there's a very strong correlation between finishing at the top of the recruiting classes year after year and finishing at top of the leaderboard. All right, let's get into some transfers. The Florida Gators have announced, or it has been announced, that Avery Helm intends to enter the transfer portal on December the 5th, which is the first day that they can enter. That adds to a number of other Gators that have already entered their name or will be entering their name or have already taken visits. But Nick, give us your thoughts, and Silk, you as well, on some of the transfer news that you expect or have heard.
All right, let me see. So just I'm pulling up
our why you do that, Nick,
tracker.
Yeah, while you do that, currently besides Avery Helm, Griffin McDowell, offensive lineman, Kamar Wilcoxon, defensive back, Josh Braun, offensive lineman, linebacker DeJuan Black, linebacker Brenton Cox. Well, he's going to be going to the pros. Nick Elksness, tight end, and wide receiver Trent Whittemore have already announced their departures into the transfer portal.
It will be it's going to be interesting, and it kind of also plays into recruiting. But the transfer portal being 45 days starting on December 5th, which includes the early signing day, you're going to have a lot of guys who are taking visits really quick. And make no mistake about it, you can't talk to players until they're in the portal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Name names, Nick.
There's going to be guys that are announcing they're hitting the transfer portal on the 5th and might have be going somewhere by late on the 5th or the 6th.
Sometimes you just know where you want to be, Nick.
Must just have a strong conviction about the storied programs and traditions that they're now joining.
Real quick question, Nick. What is the window for the new transfer?
45 days. So
45 days.
Starting December 5th. You've got 45 days.
What is that, January 20th?
Oh, there you go. Avery Helm just now tweeted himself that he is entering the portal. So confirms our report.
Wish you the best, Mr. Helm, and to your father, always a fan of Stadium and Gale. And definitely a participant on the.
That's a great family. A really good dad. Super supportive of his son. Had the knee issues. Avery Helm is one of the most. I know we talk about Anthony Richardson, obviously, but Avery Helm is one of the most physically and athletically gifted players on Florida's roster. The dude jumps out of the gym really fast. Yeah. He's going to be good. He's going to land somewhere.
I like him coming out of high school. A lot of the track stuff, the physical attributes, film was good. But sometimes it's time to move on, bro. That's all. You just need fresh coaches. He didn't sign up for Corey Raymond and Patrick Toney. He signed up for a different deal. So.
Yeah, and even if somebody's highly regarded, highly respected, like Corey Raymond is, sometimes things just don't work out. Sometimes personalities, mesh or don't mesh, pardon me, or conflict. Sometimes things happen. I think that there's going to be a lot of names. I think a few weeks ago, Silk and I both estimated probably 20 to 25 people. I think Nick even kind of scoffed at that number. I do think that somewhere around the 20 number is still a number that I see as pretty likely, even if some of those guys decide to return back. But I think it's going to be at least 20, and I would not be surprised if it's more.
Well, here's what I'll throw out. And I don't know if he will, and I'll throw out two names just like to play this scenario out. What would stop Jason Marshall from entering the transfer portal? I mentioned, I think it was on our show, what's to stop Harold Perkins, who just had an amazing freshman year? It's going to be a freshman All-American at LSU. What's to stop them from going in the portal, taking some visits, taking some calls, getting some NIL feelers from other schools, and bringing them back to their school and say, hey, here's the number, match it, or I'm going to go somewhere. So someone like Jason, who's only a sophomore, you can go in the portal and come back. And like, if Jason Marshall goes in the portal and does that scenario, there's probably a lot of people that'll say, screw him, he doesn't want to be here, we're not playing that game. College football coaches have to play that game now. Billy Napier
who's playing that game yet? I don't think nobody's played that game yet, though.
I think you're going to. Yeah, there was a kid from Tennessee last year, an offensive lineman, who took like 3 visits and ended up just pulling his name out of the portal and going back to Tennessee.
The Georgia offensive lineman.
Georgia.
Did you think it was like a bidding war, or he just decided that Tennessee was still the best place for him?
Yeah, Tennessee was the best combo place for him.
I want to see that happen because I'm down for like that type of action, but I haven't seen the kid like a Harold Perkins leverage the program back, right? Because the heat comes with that, that's a bold move. And I don't think we've seen anybody do that. Everybody that's jumped in it went on to greener pastures and then really use it as, hey, match this type of situation.
I do think we're in a little bit of a different situation than we were last year. Right. I think that there's a little bit more understanding of NIL and the collectives and some of the money that they may have, the ability to work and collect some of that money. You're starting to see coaches get involved in NIL. I saw that Kenny Dillingham announced that he's the new head coach at Arizona State. He's going to be giving $1 million of his salary to the Arizona State collective. So I think that's going to be interesting. I mean, it's certainly a gamble. So you make up a great point, right? You have to remember that anytime you put yourself out there to be negotiated with, there's always a chance that one side says, hey, I'm going to walk away. Not saying that anybody's going to walk away from Harold Perkins or Jason Marshall or enter great player here, but that's certainly something that, is risky, and you have to understand the risk of doing that as well.
Well, this year is also a massive kind of recalibration year, because in 2020, coaches really couldn't go out and recruit and couldn't go out and scout. So there's probably a bunch of kids from that 2020 recruiting cycle that are on teams that maybe their talent, they shouldn't be on teams, and a bunch of kids who were maybe missed and went to smaller schools. Just wrote a story about the receiver from Charlotte, DuBose, who's going to get a ton of offers from everybody.
Shout out to Andre DuBose for changing his name and getting his just 13th or 14th year.
So there's a bunch of kids in the 2020 class that are going to hit the portal because they are better than the schools they're at. And there's probably a bunch of kids on rosters that when you start having these exit interviews, they're going to be told like, hey, man, Charlotte might be the team you should be on, not Arkansas or Florida or Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then you've got a bunch of kids in the 2021 class now. Like, yeah, sure, there was – NIL was a thing, but like you just said, Dan, we have a better grasp on NIL in terms of the impact of it. And you're now seeing the universities put more of an investment into it. You're seeing a coach now put his money where his mouth is for a collective.
And you have history now, right? I mean, you look at the Gators
kids in the 21 class that, hey, I didn't get that kind of bag. And now if I go back into the portal, I might get that bag. So the portal is going to be wild.
I mean, there's a lot of things that were promised and may not be delivered on. And that's not calling out any particular portal or any particular person. But there's a lot of things that, hey, we can't negotiate with you, or we can't sign anything until you're on campus, that all of a sudden things can change, money can dry up, the economy shifts and changes, the amount of money coming in and out too. So there's a lot of things that could have changed. And so I am interested to see how, there is going to be a situation like what you said, Nick. I don't know if it's going to be a Jason Marshall or a Harold Perkins. It might be somebody from Penn State, right? That we don't follow closely. That's really, really good, just to throw their name out in the hat, because why the hell not? Right.
But they would have to sit out the bowl game and do this fairly early. It's a lot of nuances to the leverage part, right? So some of these guys, if you're hopping in later in the fifth, you're limiting your opportunities in the portal because it opens the fifth. So if you're waiting on a bowl game, that's just going to kill a lot of the kids that's on the good teams that are productive. They got January 6th bowls, whatever coming up. Do they declare and jump in the portal right before a bowl game? I don't see that happening.
You saw that today. Michigan's a playoff team unless they stumble.
It also started in the portal.
Unless they're starting quarterback Cade McNamara, who is a graduate already, entered the transfer portal. So because he had a hell of a game, enter the transfer portal. Now, obviously, he's still going to play for Michigan in their games. If you're Jim Harbaugh, you're not going to say, you know what, you're being disloyal. You're out of here. If you're in the portal, you're not playing for us. That's Michigan's starting quarterback. That's a playoff team starting quarterback in the portal before the playoff.
Yeah, and we also don't know what conversations. Weird. Nick prognosticated that sometimes players are talking to schools throughout being in the transfer portal. This is all alleged, right? But I would not be surprised if those conversations
we know.
I'm kidding.
We know players are being recruited. I mean, every program is doing it. Our program is doing the same exact stuff, man. That's just common sense. If you're not, then you're just gullible and naive out here. But you got to be active and know what's on other rosters, what players may be not happy, and have your ear to the streets a little bit. Even if you don't directly talk to them, you just got to have relationships to be able to have a communication with these people without having a communication with them. Yeah. That's interesting with McNamara. I don't know what nuances of his relationship with Harbaugh was, but I do want to see how this all plays out. December 5th is next week, so we'll see what's up as far as who enters the portal. And how it pertains to early signing day. How do these coaches manage the rosters? There's a lot of roster management going on between the portal exits and entries and also early signing day.
Yeah, and there's only, I think, 14 days, 2 weeks between, or 15 days. I don't remember the exact date between when that transfer portal window opens and when early signing day is. And, a lot of these kids that have been committed to schools for a long time, may unfortunately get a little bit of a dose of reality of talent acquisition. Nick, I know in an article that you wrote for On3, it's behind a paywall, but since we're here, and if you've made it this long into the episode, just go subscribe to On3. You mentioned 4 names. Grant DuBose, you mentioned him from Charlotte, the wide receiver. You also mentioned that the Gators have been in touch with Kyle Morlock from Shorter University. Unless you follow Division II football, you might not have heard of him. He's a 2-time All-American. Florida's been in touch with him. A guy, Elijah Judy, a name that folks might know from 2 previous recruiting cycles ago, and then Dominic Lovett, who played at Missouri, are all potential targets for the Gators. I'd be curious to see how quickly some of these start to come to fruition. But again, some names to look out for.
Yeah, Dominic Lovett. So here's one. So there's a lot of smaller slot guys, and let's have this little think session between us. I would love to see Ricky Pearsall come back next year. Does it make sense for Ricky Pearsall to come back next year? He's 21 years old. He's 21 years old right now. I think he's a pretty polished product. So someone's gonna see him and go, that's our Cooper Kupp. We're good to go. I don't know what he does next year in this offense without an Anthony Richardson, with probably a transfer portal quarterback, what he does to move him from, if he's a 3rd or 4th rounder this year, to elevate him from that. I just don't know what the upside for Ricky is to come back next year. Now, as someone who likes watching him play and covering him, would love to see him in orange and blue again. I just don't know if that's it. And then if you look at Florida's roster, the only guy you're really getting that kind of fits that mold is Eugene Wilson, but he's not going to be on campus until summer. So if you can get a guy like Dominic Lovett, who just led, as a true freshman, Missouri in receptions and yards, you go get him. You plug
a quarterback to get a guy like that, because why would he come here? The same reason Pearsall would leave, that guy would be asking the same question. You didn't think we go after a portal quarterback? You think we do that now?
What? No, he did.
No,
he did.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you kicked the tires on McNamara, right? To see what he's looking for, right? I mean, you're in the playoffs, you know the system, you've been there a while. Obviously, he blew up against Ohio State. Sam Hartman is a guy, Wake Forest, accurate. They run a very different offense. That slow mesh offense is very different, but saw some accuracy out of him. Don't want him. Jeff Sims just entered his name from Georgia Tech. I know that there's some other names. Help me out here. I think I'm missing.
Here's a blast from the past. Just had a great year at Washington. Michael Penix Jr.,
former Indiana quarterback.
Not going pro.
He could go pro. He could maybe come home for one more year in college. Here's
my thing with Penix, right? If you
guy that reminds me a lot of Lewis from UL last year.
If you like Penix, then you might as well like Jeff Sims, right? Penix struggled before he got to where he's at now. He looked terrible. He had to transfer to get there. It was a lot of raw tools, and that's pretty much what Jeff Sims is: athleticism, big arm, raw tools. And I think before this year, Michael Penix was a lot of questions by him at Indiana.
Yeah, no, I think that you're right. And I didn't watch enough Georgia Tech games to have a super strong opinion on Jeff Sims. Don't know what, and sometimes it's a change of scenery, a change of coaching, a change of the folks around you. And you could
I don't
be
want
able
him, by the way,
and be successful. No, I understand. But I do think that Florida's got to get a quarterback next year, right? I do think that Florida's going to be down to Jalen Kitna, Jack Miller, and Jaden Rashada. I think that's how they enter next year. That's not good. That's at least one too few. I think that they need to go get. And if they can get somebody that can come in right away, despite Jalen Kitna looking the part, you've not seen a lot out of him.
Right.
So it would color me concerned to go into next year with not a great quarterback transfer coming in, because I think they'll get at least one, right? But if you had
Like
If you-
Jaden Rashad is not ready. Like Florida is
Right.
going to go after. Now, listen, I can't predict that they're going
Right.
to land one, but
they're
Florida
gonna
will
land
go
one.
after. Florida will 100%
Get a
go
quarterback.
after.
Yeah. Well, and I think that they have to. I think that you have to swing. You have to swing big because you need somebody. Because if you don't, then whoo.
Yeah, we
Woo!
keep shout out to Fernando. I think we kept saying
Everybody that think this offense is gonna look better without
Matthew
AR. You
Ryan.
guys don't have that same sentiment, huh?
Who's
I mean, it
Fernando?
could. It depends on who we hit out of the portal. But what we have right now, like y'all are delusional if you think this thing gets better next year without him, man. We do definitely need a portal quarterback. It's a lot of talent gonna enter it. But it's a lot of questions too because it's such a down year. Because I like Hartman a lot, but there's been some. I've been, doing my Googles. There's some people that think he should probably go pro in a down year. So we'll see how it all works out.
Fernando. Fernando is correct. It wasn't McNamara that was playing against Ohio State. It was JJ McCarthy. That makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I was
JJ
like, what the
McCarthy,
hell is going
got
on?
our mix.
highly
Got
ranked
my
guy out of high
mix.
school. McNamara started the year as Michigan's quarterback. So Fernando, we appreciate you. Nick was shouting out Fernando. I didn't know who that was, but we appreciate that. And also want to give Ben Chase, who's still listening, he let us know that he went to a shorter game. We asked him how Kyle Morlock did. I don't think he was following because shorter apparently got waxed.
I was sitting here like, why would this guy be going into the playoffs and being selfish like that and putting his name in the portal? That's insane work.
I got my mixed up. McCarthy, McNamara, mix.
Just add it to the list of egregious errors you've made.
It's a long list.
The Gators are going to obviously go into next year at running back with Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne. Excited about both of those guys. I would imagine that Naquan Wright and Lorenzo Lingard, assuming Lorenzo Lingard is graduated, will probably not end up on this roster next year. The Gators will be adding at least one, if not two, running backs. But
what's up?
Oh, go ahead.
What question you had?
Question. You guys think the Gators go after anybody in the running back position just to fill the room up, or do you think 4 is strong enough?
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to get a portal quarterback, like
running back or quarterback.
Running back.
You're on the road, Nick.
Hey, I am. Fever's coming back. Fever is coming back. It's gonna be tough to get a portal running back. Like, I want to include Trey Sanders, in that story that I wrote, but like,
maybe we can get his brother back.
Why would Trey Sanders come to Florida? You've got 2 established guys. You've got 2 freshmen coming in, or will have 2 freshmen coming in. Quarterback is a much easier sell for Florida. You've got a guy in Jack Miller who's played a few more snaps than the 3 of us in college. A guy in Jalen Kitna who's played a few more snaps than the 3 of us in college. You can sell commas and early playing time to a portal quarterback for sure. Running back, it's going to be tough for Florida. I don't even think they need to target a running back in the portal. But there will be positions. Tight end, like if Keon Zipper hits the portal, you're going to have Dante Sanders, Jonathan Odom, and then 2 freshmen. Like, I think
Nick, I need some help in the room, baby.
You need a tight end in the room.
I need a tight end.
You're probably gonna need
Yo.
You're gonna need a portal offensive lineman. Like, there's a bunch of positions where you need portal help, and Florida is going to lose a bunch in the portal, which will allow them to be very aggressive in the portal as well.
Yeah. Ben Chase is giving us an update from the shorter Delta State game that he went to. Delta State won 45-10, but Morlock had 1 catch for 11 yards, but it was the sole touchdown. That's about what tight ends are going for at UF in a game anyway. So he fit right into the Gators.
Are we interested in the defensive? I'm sorry. Division 2 tight end that's like 6'7", 6'8" that everybody's
that's who he's talking
the one.
about.
That's who he's talking about? Okay.
From Shorter University.
Got you. Shout out to
if
that
you've never
boy.
heard of it, talk to Ben Chase.
I haven't heard Jamarcus Weston name in a long time. He's probably the guy that hops into the portal. Alongside, I seen Pouncey running around. Man, we was thin as hell this past week, man, versus Florida State. But some of those guys I see probably freeing up some space.
Yep.
So we don't have to absolutely go after like incredible studs. It's not a normal portal year where you're trying to get guys that you hit on and they could like compete and start right away. Some of these guys you could probably get some freshmen that are, because you're losing a lot of spots. So I don't think every guy has to be a home run hit. You need some program guys. And it's also important to bring in good culture guys. Like there's a lot of A&M players that are hitting the portal. That everybody's retweeting and excited about because they killed on the trail the last couple of years. But they're coming from a very toxic situation. And Billy has hit on the people he's brought into the locker room so far, but we've seen the Brenton Coxes and other guys as well in the past. So I think it's important from a culture fit. And also, like, I want the fans, if they see a name they never heard of, to lose their mind because you got a lot of spots to fill and everybody's not going to be an absolute college star already.
Yeah. You saw Rashard Torrance. We didn't mention him. He didn't play in the FSU game. He was out. I would imagine that that's potentially a name to look out for as well.
Was he hurt?
It was never was it reported that he was hurt? Okay. I just saw that he was not playing. But that could potentially still be a name to look out for. There's some names on the defensive line that, have been here a couple of years that you may see jump in the portal. I don't know, Nick, and maybe you can give some thoughts if you've heard. I don't imagine a lot more attrition from the offensive line group from who's there now outside of those that have left. You might get a surprise name, but
right. Well, I mentioned earlier Richard Garage. I think he will either go to the NFL or the portal. We had like an awkward it was about 2-3 weeks ago. We had like an awkward back and forth with him with one of the writers, and it was kind of like senior day stuff, and he was basically it sounded like he was basically telling us like, yes, this will be my last game in the Swamp. Even though he has another year of eligibility. But given the year he has, I don't know what his grade would be. So it seems like potentially could be a portal. Offensive line, I don't know how many would leave. Like maybe some other guys, like a Will Harrod walked on senior day, not a senior. Plenty of eligibility left.
Has he graduated?
Probably will. He has not graduated yet. Maybe will graduate after this fall semester. Regardless, December 5th, doesn't matter if you've graduated or not. If you're at a top 5 public university and you're close to graduating, I'm just not
walking if I ain't got no degree or plan no like.
Yeah.
So I was just curious from that standpoint.
He has not graduated, but did walk on senior day.
Shorter university will have an open scholarship opportunity.
Well, hundo.
It's D2. Do they even do scholarship? They do. Yeah, D2 does.
Yeah, I think they do some sort of scholarship. But I do think that there's going to be some names certainly that you may remember from a recruiting class or 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 ago. But I do expect at least 20 names. I would imagine that Florida would like to, have a recruiting class somewhere in the 25 to 28 range and then fill in the rest with portal guys. Obviously, you're going to see additional attrition after the spring. You're going to see additional. Is there going to be just the one transfer portal? Is there a spring transfer portal too as well?
There's a second transfer portal as well.
That's what I thought. So you'll see some additional names there as well. But I do expect after the dust settles between the spring or the winter transfer portal and then the spring transfer portal that, I don't know, maybe 30 of the names that are on this roster right now will be changed out.
I thought you were for who?
A lot of content on the way, man. It's fun times, man. True. Plenty of content, plenty to talk about. Like it's just you gotta go searching for shit to talk about, Nate.
That's right.
No, that's true.
All right, boys. I think that just about wraps up today. Any final thoughts? Any additional commentary?
I want to get your just from the entire division, what do you guys think about Napier so far? I don't think the bowl game is gonna tell us shit. I think like the portal, all this nonsense about to happen. We don't know what we about to put on the field, but post Florida State, what's your overall feel?
I would say I understand some of the vision. I think that there's going to be some reflection from this coaching staff this offseason. I do think that there's going to be some coaching changes as well this offseason, whether they are encouraged to look or not. I do think that you're going to expect to see some names. Obviously, you'll see a bunch of the off the field guys move and shake around too. Don't know how much of an impact that does or does not make, but I do think that you're going to see some of the 10 on-field assistants, at least a change of one, if not two.
I think you've got to, if you're a fan, and there's a difference between being critical, forming your opinion, and then just, being angry and the sky's falling at all times. But if you're a fan, you have to trust in the vision and trust in the process. And I think right now you have to trust Billy Napier. They stumbled on the field. You have to trust that they will recruit. You have to trust that they're going to hit this transfer portal and get some wins. Like, you're going to be competing in the portal with Oklahoma, USC, Notre Dame, Clemson, Bama, Georgia. You're competing with everyone. There's going to be a ton of names in the portal, thousands of Division 1 and 2 players, thousands. More people will hit the portal than roster spots available. And that's a number that we've seen hold true for 3 years. So you just have to trust the process. And the season sucked. 6-6 sucks. It doesn't feel well. Doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel well. Doesn't feel good, but you just have to trust that you're laying a foundation. I think you're seeing that just with the fight. We talked about this on the podcast, but we've seen this team quit. Like, this group of players, we watched them quit. Granted, their coach had quit on them before, but once you quit one time, it makes the second time easier. And then you've quit twice. That third time, now quitting's cake. It's easy. It's secondhand. We saw, at the very least, saw this year a sense of pride. And work ethic and self-dignity put into this team, where it doesn't matter what the score is. They're not rolling over. They're not quitting. And that might be, you might get someone that say, hey, cool, Nick's throwing out, consolation ribbons. But that's a part that you have to do, and you have to change when you have a new staff. You have to instill that. And I think we saw that start to be instilled. And then when you start to get your players in, that's something that is now already instilled in the older guys that they're looking up to that wasn't when you first got here. So this might be year 0. This might not even be year 1. So it's going to take some patience.
Yeah, my confidence in Billy comes just from the young boys I've seen, whether it's both sevens on both sides of the ball, the guys he brought in from Louisiana, watching how they became pretty much the face of the team this year. The additions that he brought in, that gives me hope. You know what I'm saying? And the type of players, quality guys that play with some pride, and you can see it. It's a difference in the guys that he brought in, the freshmen and all that, on the way they approach the game. So that's where it's at. I want to see him get his full vision in. I know some people questioning about bringing in the offensive coordinator and all that, and we all have the same questions as far as there's no play caller that's perfect, but I think the numbers show that he don't absolutely need no offensive coordinator right now. And then there's a plan. He set up the staff in a very different way. In a way they think is innovative. They're trying something. This is not your typical staff. He's hired people to kind of pick up the slack of what a normal staff would be. He has 2 offensive line coaches, but people that saying that he's doing it all himself, he's the quarterback coach, he's the OC, he's absolutely not all of those things. He just set up this staff, and the workload is delegated differently than normal staffs are. We'll see if he's right with what he's trying to do, but he's not. I don't think there's any ego involved with the play calling. I think play calling is by committee. I don't think it's just Billy. I think it's some analytic involved. It's an approach, but it's not. I don't think it's an ego in a Jimbo Fisher situation of I just want to call the plays and I got all these big sheets. He don't strike me as an ego guy, So I think everybody just gotta just relax. It's year 1. We knew what we had, the type of talent that Mullen settled for the last couple of years. Let him get in here and get his guys in. His
Yeah, I mean,
evals are good, and I think he recruits well. The evals show themselves with the guys that came from Louisiana, and we already seen that he's not a rookie on a recruiting trail here.
I mean, just imagine where Florida would be at without ETN, a recruit, Montrell Johnson, Osiris Torrance, Ricky Pearsall, and Montrell Johnson, right? Without those 5, that's probably 5 of your, you add Justin Shorter, Anthony Richardson. Those are 5 of your top 7 players on offense, right? And all of them came in, under Billy Napier. So I'm excited about that. I think that there's opportunity for improvement. I do think that there's an elevation that you can have in coaching. I do think that there's some areas of recruiting that they could tighten up on. And I do think that they're going to build relationships. I don't think that it's perfect. And I'm not going to sit up here and blow smoke up everybody's ass and say that it is perfect. But what I will say is I do see that there's a vision. There seems to be consistency. What they're putting out from a branding, marketing, and message perspective is so vastly improved. It's unbelievable to see, 2 years ago, what it looks like. You see the type of player and who they're competing with to get those players, committed and who they're beating out for those guys. That's what you need to do. And you need to do it consistently. And I know that he's under a microscope. I know that Florida went 6-7 last year, and there's a very good chance that Florida could go 6-7 this year. I do see the vision, and I do think that there's going to be a way that Billy Napier's here at Florida for a long time. And I probably have more confidence in that. I had a lot of confidence in Dan Mullen just because of his background, but I probably haven't felt that way since I maybe Will Muschamp at times, but even his offense was, what the hell's going on here, right? So.
Right. And everything's not black and white, bro. Everybody. That's why we have the job of communicating what I feel of the entire team, not just this guy stinks or he needs to be fired or he needs to OC. Things aren't just that black and white. It's a lot of nuances. And you gotta let things play out. Have some couth.
Some couth. I love it. All right, gentlemen. Let's get a final Alumni Hall ad read. Go visit alumnihall.com. You can go visit their store on Archer Road. It is double the size that it used to be, or about that. A beautiful store. Great stuff, especially for the holidays. You can visit them at alumnihall.com as well. If you are looking for a lot of blankets, a lot of stuff for the colder weather, a lot of new basketball related items, shirts, shorts, decals, balls, and they restocked some of their Peter Millar collection. Great stuff. It's very well done. Peter Millar, have a couple of polos of them myself, but these ones that they just put out are the classic Peter Millar with the Gators, current Gators logo on them. So go check out Alumni Hall on Archer Road, or visit them at alumnihall.com. Before we wrap up here, I do want to give a quick congratulations to Mary Wise for the 32nd straight year. The Gators are going to the volleyball tournament for the national championship run. I believe Florida finished as co-SEC champions this year. So congratulations to her. That is the Gators' 25th SEC title or co-title under Mary Wise. So congratulations to her, friend of the program. Congratulations to the Gators volleyball team. Gators basketball has a tough series against in the tournament this weekend. They end up going 1 of 2, ending up getting blown out by West Virginia yesterday. Rebuilding year for Todd Golden for sure. Other than that, gentlemen, any final thoughts?
No,
Prognostications?
I'm all thought out.
All right. I think it's my song of the week. So with that, let's play. Have I played the song I Love My Home? I did. Yeah, I did a few weeks ago. Let's play The Bird Hunters by my guys, the Turnpike Troubadours. And gentlemen, we will see you at the same corner and same time next week.
Already.
Let's get lit.